Hello, my beautiful chickens. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about SAT aftermath. How should you be thinking about your test performance once you've taken the test? My name is Kansi Sieberson. I'm the inventor of the Sieberson method, a scientifically proven way to learn anything fast, especially when it comes to the SAT. I also run an amazing, wonderful membership website where you can study and prepare for the SAT with me alongside with other chickens just like you. Let's get started. All right, so here is my brief outline for this video. I'll show you real fast. So we're going to talk about the SAT aftermath, 13-day long frenzy. Important question you need to ask yourself, what now? And the beloved Reddit. Okay, so the SAT aftermath is so important because there's so many videos that talk about what to do before the test, right before the test, to prepare for the test. But I'm not going to say I looked, but I think that there are not a lot of conversations that are happening after the fact. And I just had a conversation with my SAT Verbal members where we logged on the Zoom call and we discussed how do they feel about their performance, what was especially difficult, what was especially easy. And we went through kind of like a set of questions that I was asking them. And I do this process with all of my students because I think it's especially important to pacify your brain and establish really realistic expectations. First thing I tell them is that it's essential to know that human brain, or just humans, are horrible narrators of their cognitive performance. What does that even mean? That means that when I go take the test, and I used to, not last year, but in the past, I used to take the SAT at least twice a year and then the ACT. And when I go in, I feel very confident, I feel pumped. This is my favorite thing in the world. And when I come out, it's really difficult for me to say whether I made one mistake on the reading or four. So I try not to go in that land of mystery and maybe berating myself and maybe saying, oh my God, how can I be so dumb? I can't believe I made this mistake. I don't let my brain go there because I don't think that there's any upside into going into that 13-day frenzy. What do I mean when I say 13-day frenzy? It takes about 13 days for the SAT to get your results. So if you've taken March 13th, your results are going to come out on March 26th. For some of you, it's going to be a little bit longer. If you've taken the SAT essay, then the essay grading will take a little bit longer, but your multiple choice on average is available in 13 days. Within those 13 days, I have seen some of my clients eat themselves up from the inside. Maybe they're going to wake up in the middle of the night and I think I made a mistake. I think I forgot the minus, and I think it should have been this answer and not this answer. Answer me this. What's the upside of doing that? I don't see any. Every time you think a thought, oh my God, I did so poorly, what happens to your confidence? Does it go up or does it go down? It goes down every time. And even if this is the last test, you're not taking the SAT again. And if this is March, probably this is not your last test. But if it is, if this is the last test, you're not taking it again, I don't see why you would want to be bringing down your confidence, why you would be getting angry at the test, angry at yourself. Here's the thought I always offer my students. Think this. I did my absolute best. I gave it the fullest effort. In the next 13 days, in the next 12 days, in the next 10 days, I will find out how well I did. You did your absolute best. You know that you did your absolute best, and I know that. There's no point in scolding yourself and questioning it. You did your best? Let's find out. We want to know your results. We don't want to be shaky and be scared of how well you did. No, you did your best. Let's see the results. So now we're going to go into a question that you need to ask yourself. What is that number one question you want to ask yourself? Here's what I do. I kind of close my eyes and I go back in my mind to the time when I was doing the test. I kind of like sit down in my head and then I ask myself this question. What do I wish I had more training on? What would I have thanked myself for during the test? Is it more reading comprehension skills? Would I have thanked myself for being more proficient with reading SAT reading passages? If so, which one specifically? Which passage would you have wished to have more skills for? Was it the history passage? Was it the history passage about abolitionists and the Galileo? really think deeply about that. Would you have wished to be more trained with probabilities? Would you have wished to be more trained with trigonometry? Maybe percent change formula gave you the hardest time. And when you approach it from this perspective and you write down what you would have wished to have more training in, now you could take that answer and turn it into your action list. Oh, it would be really good if I had more training on my reading passages. How can I train myself better? First, consider joining SAT Verbal. We train you how to read faster, how to become better at reading comprehension, how to answer specific questions, all types of questions. What can you do now to give yourself more training between now and your next test? Think creatively. What can you do? And the last point I want to talk about is Reddit. So when you go on Reddit, I know many of you like that, and I go there as well, the discussion boards, and I've been going to these discussion boards for so long that I see a repeated kind of pattern where there is one or two posts that say that, oh my God, this test was so brutal, it was so complicated, or maybe someone's complaining about a specific section. And it seems like, oh my, yeah, and you start to agree, you start to concur, and you say, actually, I think that the reading section was pretty hard. I think this is unfair. I think this is unconstitutional, or whatever word you want to use. And I just want to tell you that this is a pattern that repeats over and over again. I've been following Reddit for many, many years now. And in every test, students say, this is the hardest. They cannot all be the hardest. And also, remember, SAT, standardized test. Because it's a standardized test, it could not be more difficult or less difficult by definition. And here's what I mean by that. Yes, some tests could be less complicated, but then the SAT will make up for it with a curve. Just because the test was easy doesn't mean that for 5 mistakes, you're still going to get 50 points off. No, maybe now because the test is easy, for 5 mistakes, you're going to get 80 points off. The SAT always knows what they're doing. It's a big institution. There's a lot of statisticians that are involved in the process. And just because the test seems hard, maybe the curve will be thick and friendly. So I just want you to approach those discussion boards with caution and remember that you don't really know the level of effort someone has put in, whoever is typing for on Reddit. You don't know what maybe that person has studied for a week and they say, oh, this test was so hard. Or maybe that person studied for 2 years and they say, oh, the test was so easy. And then you feel like, oh, why was that test easy? Am I dumb? Well, that person has put in 2 years worth of consistent effort. You don't know what kind of educational abilities and what kind of access to what kind of help that person has. You don't know their story. So when you approach Reddit, just be careful. All right, I hope this helps. Don't forget, every time you leave a comment below this video, you get entered into a pool of students that I pick from on the first of the month who get to join my SAT Verbal membership, where we have live classes together. You have access to me directly through the section called Ask Katya, where you can ask me questions, and then I answer them with a video. So the way it's a little bit different from other places is instead of just sending you an answer, let's say you have a question that's more specific. You can ask me, Katya, why is it not C? Instead of just like, what's the answer to this question? I can specifically open up the narrative for you and say, this is why this is not C. This is why C is a trapping answer choice, and that is why B is the right answer choice, and this is the direct line reference. So this is the bliss that you have access to. This is my favorite place on earth, and I'll see you there.